Christine, will you put the up on the screen too? Maybe it's too light. Yeah, I can't see it. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. Tonight is the June 28th, 2022 Board of Selectmen meeting. Roll call, myself, Bob Carlson, and for Selectman Brett Mastriani, Selectman, and at home tonight, not feeling well on Zoom is Selectwoman Nicole Porter. We'll start this meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, do we have any public comment this evening? Any comment online? I can't see that. No. Okay, hearing none. Are there any comments by either of the two selectmen?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. First selectman report and correspondence. Just two quick things. We had a town meeting last night. Went very well, I thought. There was 4 questions on the meeting and all 4 passed. Secondly, last Monday, a week ago yesterday, we held an event in this room called the Korean War Veteran Event. It was a nice event where Lieutenant Governor Susan Weissowitz came down along with Senator Heather Summers, Representative Greg Howard, myself, Selectman Mastriani, and we had probably about 15 Korean War veterans and their families or surviving spouses that came and got the citations. It was a good time had by all, and we're going to, because it went so well, we're probably going to do something with Vietnam veterans, hopefully in the either in the fall or in next spring, one or the other. Next, old business, demolition of the 1-story 298 Norwich Westerly Road. So this is something we've spoke about for a while. We had an RFP that went out recently. We're going to award, we wanted to award the RFP tonight to one of our 4 applicants. And before we award it, I would like to ask the selectmen for any discussion. If none, I'll be glad to discuss, but Nicole or Brett, do you have anything to open up for the discussion?
I'll let Brett go first if he has something.
I don't, Nicole. I went through the RFP. I did my own research on some of the companies, and I'm happy with what I've found so far.
Nicole, anything, and you want me to go ahead?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we had 4 bidders. The lowest bidder was Best Tech. Came in at 689,000. And they were quite a bit less than the second lowest bidder, which I believe was Stanford Wrecking Company. First thing that made me nervous was the fact that it was such a low bid. So I got a hold of people that have used Best Tech prior. Best Tech also worked on our job in the elementary school. So they have worked in town. I called the company themselves on more than one occasion to ask specific questions about the bid. All the answers that came back were what I had hoped they had been. Was it bid with prevailing wage? Did you account for everything in the building, and your the bid would not exceed the 689,000 that you bid it at? And the second bidder, again, was Stanford Wrecking. They asked for a copy of Best Tech's bid. I didn't see the harm in sending it to them. In the industry I came from before, that happened all the time. They wanted to see why they were probably so much higher than the lowest bid. The good news on that is that Stanford got back to us with only one small detail. They felt on the way that the Best Tech was handling the wall that was going to go between the existing building, what was going to remain, and the building that was coming down was different than what had been asked for in the RFP. However, we did ask in the RFP that if there's a way you can do things differently and save us money, we'd be willing to listen to that. The bid was roughly $500,000 lower than the second place bid. So I was prepared this evening, without much additional thought, to award to Best Tech. One of our taxpayers reached out to me yesterday and let me know that Best Tech had received a subpoena in a suit, a possible suit, where they're investigating other school building projects in Connecticut, and how some people may have gotten jobs that maybe were coerced by the office to hire certain firms, and Best Tech did receive some jobs that are being investigated. Again, they were subpoenaed. They have not been found guilty of anything. They've not actually gone to court, and they didn't even get the lion's share of the jobs. There was another company that got quite a few more jobs than Best Tech did. However, being the Board of Selectmen that we are, we do not want to do something that's not above board. We don't want to do something that's going to be found out later that we did the wrong thing, because we're using ARPA funding to pay for this project. We didn't want to have it fall back on us 2 years from now if we have to do some sort of an audit and they say, well, why did you go and use a company that you knew was being investigated? I got a hold of Southern Connecticut Council of Governments, which is called the COG. I talked to them, and I talked to our town attorney, who was going to reach out to Joe Courtney's office. When I spoke to the COG, they put me in touch with someone from OPM, that's the Office of Policy Management, and they then sent me to a part of the government called DAS, which now handles all school projects. I left a message for the director of DAS this morning. She has not called me back as of yet. So my feeling is this: we're kind of looking at this two ways. Again, we don't want to do anything that's not going to be above board. We don't want to do anything that's going to come back and bite the town. The same token, I don't want to do something that's going to cost the town $500,000 more than it should, only to find out later that I could have easily gone with the first company, and I should have. So by awarding it tonight, which we still can do, there's still not a finalized contract until the contract's been written by our attorneys, reviewed with Best Tech, and both parties sign it. That would probably take a couple of weeks to get all that done. So it gives us a couple more weeks to look into this to make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's and doing the right thing. I don't think I speak for myself, but I think the other two selectmen would agree with me. We don't want to cost the town any additional funds, but again, we don't want to do anything that would be dishonest or not good for the town of North Stonington. So with that said, Nicole, do you have any follow-up to that discussion?
No, not at this moment, no.
All right, thank you, Brett.
Yeah, based on what you said, I think we need to be clear that a subpoena isn't any kind of investigation. It's a request for information. I think when we throw those words around, when we talk about a company, we need to be very careful. Yes, there was an issue in Connecticut with state and school bids in a process, but I think they're looking at some individuals, and asking a company that has done work is different than there's an investigation into that company. So I think we need to be clear on how we speak on that. I am comfortable with what I've seen and read moving forward and staying on our schedule to make sure that we don't violate our own process in this bid package. That would cause us to have to go out to bid again if we don't award it in time.
Okay, I agree with you, and I hope no one misunderstands. I'm not in any way diminishing the abilities of Best Tech or their reputation. If it's brought to my attention and then I bring it to the Board of Selectmen by a taxpayer that it's something we should look into, we should do our due diligence and look into it. We're just trying to protect the town. But again, this is nothing, I'm not saying that Best Tech did anything wrong. I'll let that investigation take place, and then we'll find out down the end. But in the meantime, I think it makes sense to make the phone calls, do the research, and just make sure that we're doing the right thing. That's all. So I would then entertain a motion that we award the bid, knowing that we still have to draw a contract and has to be signed by both parties. So it gives us more time to discuss this down the road. But I'd like to at least to stay on track, as Brett said, award the bid this evening, and then move forward.
I'll make that motion to award the bid of the demo of the one-story wing to Best Tech, Inc. of Connecticut.
Thank you.
Before I'm wondering if we can amend the motion as far as barring any additional information obtained in the next couple of weeks while the contract is being drawn up, that if anything comes out that we are not happy with and we don't feel comfortable moving forward, that we are able to back out of that decision.
Okay, Brett, would you want to remove your motion and re-motion as amended, or do you want to keep it as is?
I don't really want to amend my motion as it stands. I mean, like you said, we still have to sign a contract at some point. But I'm really uncomfortable with how we're presenting this, that we're hesitant with this company because of a subpoena in a different case with numerous companies that have been involved.
And I can understand, Brett. I think what we just want to make sure that we're doing is being 100% transparent with the townspeople on information that just came to light. I completely agree with you. I have every intention of seconding your motion. I just want to clearly understand if anything should come about in the next couple of weeks. I just want to make sure that we don't have to present that contract in a couple of weeks if we find out something additional. Correct?
We wouldn't have to execute that contract. Bob has the authority to execute the contract, so he can do that. I just want to be clear that this subpoena happened back in February. It's nothing new. It didn't come out this week, last week. So, I mean, I don't mind amending it, saying barring that they are not found. I'm not comfortable, to be honest with you, when I think about it. I think we're putting a lot of stuff on a subpoena of many companies.
Did you read all the articles, or did you just read that they were subpoenaed? Because I read the articles, so have you read them all?
I have.
Okay, so I don't think, again, I think we're just doing due diligence for the town and looking out for the town's best interest. We're not in any way trying to besmirch Best Tech's reputation and what they did, but we have to protect the town. So I have to say what Nicole's saying is pending, and we can look at two ways. We can either put in the motion pending any additional information, or we can just say that we know that we still have to sign the contracts. The contract has to be written. We have to sign it. And as a board, if we find something that's uncomfortable prior to taking the contract to Best Tech, I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't back out of that. So you both have good points, but I believe at this point we could just move on with the motion, knowing the contract's not written yet, and award it tonight, knowing that we have the ability to not move forward with the contract if we find information that is not what we want to hear.
I mean, I'm comfortable with that understanding that Bob stated that he would not sign the contract if he, and would come back to us if he found out any information that would deter him from signing the contract. I have faith that he'll do his due diligence on that part.
I feel the same.
Great. So then, Nicole, will you second that Brett's motion as originally stated, or do you want to still amend it?
No, I will second the motion as it was originally stated.
Okay, and then we have discussion, it's on record. I mean, this meeting is being recorded, obviously, so we will make sure we do our due diligence, ask the questions, get the answers. I'll refer it back to you two, selectmen, before I sign anything, and we all have to agree that's the way to go before we go that way. Agreed? Okay, all in favor of awarding the contract to Best Tech for the demolition of the one-story wing as motioned by Brett Mastriani and seconded by Nicole Porter, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment talking about what we just talked about? Any public comment on?
Robert White, whoa, here we go. I have concerns about the bid. I know I spoke to you about it, Bob. I just wanted it for the record. I just can't fathom how they're gonna come in at $700,000 when our original bid in 2017 was 1.1 million. Of how you in today's economy, how do we leave $400,000 on the table when 2017 we were paying $2 for fuel, now we're paying $6, and everything else has skyrocketed in price, and to come in $400,000 less, it's just worrisome that.
And to respond to your question, I was concerned too when I first saw it, until I did some research on it. And Best Tech was one of the only hazmat companies that actually responded to the bid. The other ones were mostly demolition companies. Now, this is my opinion on why they're lower. I believe, and they have done work for our school system before, or in our building project. I believe they have a better handle on what is hot and contaminated material and what's not, and know where that material can go, or how to encapsulate that material better and dispose of the non-hazmat material in a different way than having. I can tell you that knowing the bids that first went around and people that bid on it, most of them bid the whole wing as hot contaminated material. So every piece of debris in there was considered hazmat disposal.
Now, were the other companies that bid on this aware of that the whole wing was not hot, or just half of it
Yeah,
was?
no, they received a 100-page report from Eagle Environmental explaining what was and what wasn't.
Okay.
But as Brett said, being demolition companies and not being hazmat companies, I spoke to one of the other bidders who mentioned the same thing to me. I said, how can this guy be so low? And he said, that's probably how he did it, because he's not taking I don't know what the tonnage is, but let's say there's 5 tons of debris. And if you bid it as it's all hot material, you got to pay the top dollar to remove it and ship it. If you find out there's only 1 million, 1 ton that's hot and 4 tons that's not, then you can get a lower price to ship the hot material like the concrete and stuff like that. So that was one thing. The second thing is, when it was bid through the project, they were all subcontractors working for Downs. The Downs also probably put an adder to the bid because they're the general contractor. So whoever bid that job back then, Downs had to put money on top of that to present it as part of the project. Downs wasn't going to bring in someone to demo it for free. So I think that was part of it also, Robert.
And recently, when we were discussing this a year or so ago, weren't we estimating that it was going to cost upwards of 1.5 million to do the job? I thought it was going to be probably around 1.4. Only because of 1.4.
escalation. I'm thinking, okay,
Yeah.
it's 1.1 in 2018.
Then that would make it even worse, the money that's been left on the table is.
But I was going
just in
by,
my
no, I
in
agree, but
my
I was going by the
opinion.
original bid too of the 1.1, like you said.
Right.
So
right.
maybe that bid done differently back then, where they separated the material, and if they did it as a subcontractor, not to Downs, but directly to the town, it would have been lower.
Yeah,
When we write the contract, I'm going to make sure that contract has that we don't want change orders. We want it to be done for the price it was. We were told when I called them personally and asked them that question, I said, I can't be in a job site that you tell me it's 700,000. And then I got to go back to the town and say, hey, it's really 1.1 million. So I'm not going to do that.
I hope you received that, but I have concern that we'll get that signed as well, because it's really putting a lot on Best Tech to be able to say that they're not going to run into any unforeseen conditions per se, of all the unforeseen conditions that were ran into in the elementary school. And when you're dealing with hazardous waste, it seems to be a lot more elevated that you run into those problems of extras and unforeseen conditions of what you think is there, and then what you find out is there when you start the project. But
No, I understand, and I appreciate, I know your background, I know your knowledge of the subject, so I appreciate your comments, and believe me, we will do our best to make sure that we do everything correctly.
okay, hope it goes well.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on demolition? Anybody online? Okay, next, 298 Norwich Wesley Road liquidation update. So we had liquidators come in over the last 2 weeks. We had an online auction. In that online auction, we sold everything that's in this part of the building still here. We took it all down to the old cafeteria. And the town, after the fees we paid, made about $14,000. We made about $2,000, and when we had our own yard sale about a month ago, and then we made about 14,000 just now. So of this material that was in the building that nobody seemed to want, we made about $16,000 for the town, which will end up going into the general fund.
That's fantastic, Bob.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well, and we got rid of stuff that now we don't have to pay to get rid of it. We do have one more group coming in. I did reach out to some of the local schools and daycares and tell them we have some material here, and you get about another week if you want something. The Baptist church came in the other day, and I gave them some things, because now it's going to either go on a ship to Haiti, Dominican Republic, or at the transfer station. So if any of our townspeople can use something, I figured why not reach out? So I did. With what's left, the auction company has a tie-in with a company that does take all this extra school furniture, and they'll ship it to Haiti, Dominican Republic, and third world countries that could use it. I'm sure they're making money on it, but the good news is it doesn't cost us a penny to get rid of it. So my thought is, if it disappears, makes somebody happy, the town's already made some money on it. We kind of took what was a bad situation. If, we all walked through this building back in January 15th at community conversation and couldn't believe our eyes on how much stuff was in this building and slowly trickling out. So that was the effort we put in, and it looks like it's coming to a conclusion, thank God. And that's about it on that. Any other comments on this, public or selectmen? Nothing?
Nope.
Okay, yep, I did skip that. All right, why? It's not on the agenda. Okay, so Nicole, I apologize if you have the agenda in front of you. Under old business where it said demolition of the one-story 298 Norwich Wesley Road. We're supposed to talk about putting out an RFP for clerk of the works. And I should have made a note on here and I forgot to, so it's on me. But now let's talk about, in your packet, you saw an RFP that was taken from the RFP used for the CES building as far as hiring a clerk of the works. And I have had a couple of people in town I spoke to thought it might be a little bit too stringent as far as what we're asking for to get this job done. One of our taxpayers brought up at a meeting when we spoke about this, I think it's the last Board of Selectmen meeting actually, that we might want to look into someone that can oversee the project for us rather than doing it ourselves. It made sense when you're dealing with $700,000. I want to make sure someone's keeping an eye on it. So with that said, we looked for a clerk of the works program, RFP that had been done earlier. Again, we took it from the CES building, and that's what we have. If you reviewed it all and you have any comment, I'd be glad to listen to what either of you have to say. Brett?
Just looking at it quickly and then reviewing some other ones, I wouldn't mind putting in here under the qualifications that we talk about, either some kind of municipal or commercial experience.
Okay. Where do you want to put that, where it says qualifications, the candidate clerk of the works
Ye-
position shall possess the following qualifications?
Yes.
And how would you like to word that?
Get back to it. Hold on one second.
And Brett, is this gonna be an and or an or?
I mean, I guess that's up for our discussion. I would think, and because it's a municipal project and there are differences than projects in the private sector, but I just wanted to bring it up for you guys for discussion.
So just see the line that says the candidate shall possess inspection and or construction experience on demolition related projects.
Right. I did see that, but I think it's different if you're demoing like a house or a commercial
So
municipal
you
building.
want us to add the word municipal?
Yeah, municipal / commercial, I think, if you did it.
Can we say on on demo?
So like the one I'm looking at here says, on similar projects or involving facility or municipal construction and demo. But any one of those, any combination of those would just give us a little more.
So if we say the candidate shall possess inspection and or municipal / construction experience,
Commercial, I think, / commercial construction experience.
Demolition experience?
commercial / municipal? Or,
Yeah, I think that gives enough. And then the only other thing that there's so many out there, but some of the stuff that stood out at me is also that, and this is on like under notes of a different job description, but it says the clerk will be under the contract with the owner, meaning the town. It must be dedicated to the project throughout the entire contract period until project closeout is complete. I don't know if that's something that we should have in here, so somebody doesn't look at this and say, okay, hey, I can do this for 2 months. Demo's not done, even though we're scheduled till December, and then we have to find someone else. I don't know if that can be a requirement or if it's just something that we put in there that are expected.
Christine, you have the wording on that you'd like to add?
Hmm?
Do you want to add that wording? So the job's complete. How do you
okay,
wanna
so
word it?
number 4, which says the clerk of the work shall be present on site as needed whenever the contractor is present on site. Can we just add to that until completion of project?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, so this says throughout the entire contract period or until project closeout is complete.
Okay.
But as long as we know that there is some timelines in here, because I don't think, so we have the bidding award, the bid award, the demolition. We don't have by 12/31. So knowing that there's a span in there, that it is a time commitment.
So we could put to 12/31/2022 or completion of the job, or job's completion. In the RFP, we had an end date in the RFP, but not this RFP, the one on the demolition contractor.
All right, so I don't know if we should put something like that in there.
Yeah, so I'll just add under the schedule and budget where it says demolition 8/1/2022, I'll say through 12/31/2022.
Or completion, you're right. Because it might take 2 months,
Yep.
3 months, we don't know, I guess.
Okay, anything else?
just a question why we have that, the entire project budget approved by the town is not to exceed $1 million. Now, I know we took that out of the ARPA funds, but I mean, we're not hoping it even comes close to that if we're awarding it to the bid that's at 700.
I can take that out. The other one had a number in it, so I just wanted something.
Yeah, why don't we just remove that whole line?
Yeah. I don't want anyone to think that, oh, wait, there's extra money in here. Let's try to see how we can
The only
do adults to get to it.
The only benefit of having some sort of a figure in is that they may base their fee on a percentage of the project. I don't know how
Right.
people bid this out, so that's,
So maybe we put in what our expected project costs will be, say, 700,000, whatever. Anticipated expense.
Anything else? Nicole, if you want to add something, just jump in if,
Yep, no, I agree with Brett's additions and subtractions, and I'm just, this is a new process for me. I'm looking at the qualifications. They certainly are very, very prescriptive, but I'm assuming that if we've taken this template from others, that this is what we would normally, I'm sure there are people out there that would meet these qualifications. They're very prescriptive, but again, if this was taken with the help of looking at other similar templates, I'm fine.
right? So what we can do is we can vote on this tonight to approve it pending changes. And then if you just trust me, after we get this written up, I'll sign off on this at town hall tomorrow. We can get this out. But so if we want to make a motion that this will be approved pending suggested changes.
can I just make one
Sure.
suggestion? So I can add, so we have the 10 years licensed building official or 10 years construction superintendent. At the end of that statement, I can say, or similar experience.
Yeah, I like that, just so if we do get others in that you can discuss and we can interview that might be qualified but not have.
And then I just wanted to make sure everyone is okay with the schedule. So this would go out on the 29th of June. Questions would be due to the office by July 8th. And then proposals would be due by July 18th. Does everyone feel that's enough time?
I think it's plenty.
Okay.
Christine, do we,
Yep.
do,
Go ahead.
do we feel, so if we award this at the earliest July 18th, what was the timeline for the demolition? August 1st? Is that what we would be hoping for? Is
We're
that,
hop-
go ahead.
So we wanted to make sure we had enough time to get the clerk of the works on board before we started the process. So I think if we awarded it, we should be still fine for the August 1st start. And even if we're not, I think 4 to 5 months should be plenty of time to get the project completed. I would think that Best Tech's gonna wanna get it done as quickly as possible, because the less time they spend, the less man hours they have.
Yeah. Okay. And obviously, anybody that is applying for this clearly knows our timeline. Because if it's awarded on the 18th and there's just a couple of week turnaround time, that person would have to be freed up and know full well that the project could start on August 1st. I'm just talking about the tight timeline between finding out that I was awarded it and then essentially 2 weeks later, starting. Not knowing, but that would be kind of on them, right? They would have to know what they.
It's in the RFP, Nicole. So on page 1, it says bidding 513, bid award 630, demolition 81. So it's in the RFP.
Okay.
They know that when they're bidding on it. So they know they couldn't possibly start this project until next spring or late fall. They probably wouldn't bid on this.
Okay. Yep. Very good.
Okay. So if it's okay with you, why don't we motion it as a as to put the RFP out as amended. And I'll look at the amendments tomorrow and sign off on it and send it out.
The only other thing, where it says attend meetings as needed with the selectmen, so that's something we can determine later, but I would like to see like them come in on a monthly basis, at least, at minimum, to at least let us know how the project's going. I know they'll be reporting to you, but to give like a official report, so then the
That's
residents
fine.
understand.
That's fine, we can do that.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to put out this RFP and accept it as amended.
Okay.
I'll second
it.
that motion.
Okay, Nicole, second it. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, 3-0. Thank you. Number 8, get back on track. Number 8 is end of the year transfer requests. So we know when we do a budget at the beginning of the year, we're kind of best guess on where we're going to end up. And in most cases, we come pretty darn close to where a budget's going to be. But every once in a while, you'll have a few things that run over. In this particular case, we have 5 fairly small amounts: assessor's office expense, salary to tax collector, town attorney fees, additional monies for the Nostrum quarterly, and tax refunds. We do have quite a bit of money left over in the troopers line 2604, so we could take all these transfers out of that one line item. I'm going to have us go through them and I'll have Christine go through these and explain why it is that they have gone over for the amount they've gone over. And then we'll decide if we want to vote to do these line item adjustments, and then we'll take them to a Board of Finance meeting.
So the first is Assessor's Office Expenses B 4.02, and it's requesting a transfer for $550 for office expenses due to increased postage and the NADA Motor Vehicle Pricing Guide. Daryl did note this in his budget proposal for fiscal year 23, that they increased the cost of that pricing guide, but it did also happen for this year. So that's the additional $550. Any questions on that one?
Just what was the price budgeted and what is it coming in at? You know?
So it was budgeted, in prior year, it was $410, and I think this year it was $813 for that pricing guide. And then they had increased mailings, so that's what the postage increase was.
Okay.
Nicole, you good? Okay, so the next one is the salary for the tax collector. So that's $1,611 for additional hours worked. As you know, our tax collector was new this year. She started in May of last year. So she had about 5 weeks to get ready for the busy tax collection season. We budget for her to work 35 hours a week for 12 weeks of the year and 25 hours a week for the other 40 weeks. So because she was new and was still familiarizing herself with the system, she needed to work extra hours, and that primarily happened in the month of July and a little bit into August. She was supposed to switch back to the 25 hours and was here for the 35. So we're asking for those additional fees to cover the hours that she worked. We've been really good with tracking to make sure that she hasn't gone over, so that we don't have any additional, and we will be better with keeping to the schedule for the next fiscal year. Questions on this one?
I'm all set.
So the next one is town attorney fees. This is a ballpark of how much we're looking for based on how much we paid to date this year. It is union negotiations for both of our unions, and the negotiations have had more sessions than they have in the past. We're already at the 30,000 that we have budgeted for the year, so we're asking for an additional $8,000 to cover. We haven't received invoices from the regular town attorney for the 4th quarter, and we haven't received the June invoices for the contract attorney and the labor attorney.
So Christine, if it doesn't come to 8,000, say it comes to 6,500, but you figure 8,000, does the extra $1,500 just go back into the general fund?
Yes, so we would be transferring $8,000 in the budget column, but we would only be expending whatever needs to be expended to cover the bills.
Thank you.
So the next one is the North Stonington Quarterly Newsletter, B22.03. So we need an additional $2,050 for printing and mailing of the summer 2022 edition. So prior to COVID, the quarterly editors worked with the school to have the printing done in-house. We would pay for the paper and the ink, but the actual printing and man hours to fold and get it ready for postage were done through students. So with COVID, we were no longer able to get into the school, just like volunteers, parents can't get into the school to work with the kids. So we have to outsource the printing. We've had to outsource it for all of the issues of the quarterly this year. It costs about $1,500 to get the quarterly printed, and then about $500 to have it posted. The value of this is over the course of the year, about $8,000 to have a fully printed update from all of your boards and commissions and some of your nonprofit organizations from town in everyone's mailbox. So I think the value of this outweighs the actual expense. And there's a lot of time and effort put in by the two editors in collecting the information from all of those people who are volunteers in themselves, and putting this together for the benefit of everyone in town.
Christine,
Yeah.
go ahead, Bob.
No, you go right.
Are we anticipating that to need to continue? That we are not able to go into the school and utilize the printers in there as
So
before?
Let me talk to you about that, Nicole. So
Thank you.
it's just not the printing. The printing is probably the easiest part. And after that, it's the putting the paper together, the folding is, what is it, 4,000 copies roughly. So it takes a lot of the school time to do a classroom could take as much as, 3 to 4 hours in the course of a day to do this, which means they're not doing their normal classwork. And the principal, I guess, as the quarterly grew, it used to be 16 pages. Now it's up to 20 pages. And as Christine said, it's a great thing for the town to have, because it is a great news source on a quarterly basis to know what all the towns, boards and commissions, as well as organizations are doing. But to put that on the school, again, the printing part of it's not the tough part. It's putting the papers together and folding and tying up schoolwork for quite a long time. What I thought we'd do is, and I spoke to Lisa Marzella about this morning, that we'll have the people from the quarterly come in, meet with us in August prior to the October 1st edition. And we can go over some of these things like best practices and how to get this paper done correctly, and maybe in a better way to save taxpayer monies. So we can have an open discussion with them well in advance of them having to make this decision, the last 2 weeks of September. So we'll do that sometime in August at one of our meetings.
Okay, thank you.
So what do we have budgeted for next year for them?
Right now, there's $6,000 budgeted for next year.
So we'll be short next year as well. Okay. I love the quarterly. I think they do a great job, and I don't have a problem with this going forward, but I do agree it should be something that we talk about. As you said, they grew from, I forgot how many pages you said to start,
16
to
20, I think.
to 20. And it went from having most of our boards commissions to a few of like the library, things like that. But now there's a lot more nonprofits in there. There's other things that I think we should talk about. And if we can get the price back down, I just would hate to be over budget again and fall into the same category at the end of the year. If I know they work very hard, and they hate to say no to people that ask to be put in there, but at some point now it becomes a burden to the taxpayers if we keep allowing it to get bigger and bigger each time. But
So, yeah, I agree. I agree with Bob also. I'm interested in having them come on in, have a conversation. I'm not interested in adding additional pages, but I'm wondering if businesses, local businesses in town would want to help contribute and get their logo on the quarterly. It might help to offload some of the additional price, but I am definitely interested, as Bob said, in having them come on in August and just kind of brainstorming ways that we might be able to make this a little bit more cost effective. Either way, I agree with you, Brett. I love the quarterly. I read it cover to cover. So not looking to do anything to make that go away. Just would be open to brainstorming different ideas.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, number 5.
And the last one is prior year tax refunds be 30.01. So you are not supposed to anticipate that you will have tax refunds from prior years. So we budget $1 in that line. So we need $1,688 for the prior year tax refunds that we have or will process after you approve number 9 on your agenda this evening. And then this would be the last of the tax refunds that are approved for this fiscal year. And then we'd start all over next year.
So where did our prior refunds come from?
So you have 2 categories of refunds. So anything that's coming from the current year comes right back out of A 1.04.
Okay,
And then anything that is this year, 2019 or prior, comes out of B 30.01. You budget $1 and run it at a deficit throughout the year, and then do a transfer in at the end to cover whatever you've paid out.
okay, makes sense. So I'll make a motion to for these additional transfers. Do I have to, you want me to list each one? Okay.
No, you can just do it as one grouping.
As per,
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfers as presented out of B 2604.
I second that.
Okay. Is there any comment from online or in the audience? Nope. Okay, hearing none, we'll vote on this. All in favor of approving these transfers as motioned, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Does that include the tax transfers, or we have to make another motion for those?
No, it includes the ones that you're going to hopefully approve in the next line. Also, I just wanted to note, I will be sending this to the Board of Finance tomorrow. Their next meeting isn't scheduled until July 20th, so I will see if they can add a special meeting just to approve these transfers, so it's closer to the end of the fiscal year. But that's dependent on their membership and if they can get a quorum together.
So how does that work if we don't? I mean, it's gonna be after July 1st anyway, so
It should be as close as possible for audit purposes.
But if they can't, it's not the end of the world. It'll just be later, correct? If they can't pull it together and do a special meeting before the 20th, it is what it is,
It
correct?
is, yeah.
Okay.
but Christine would rest easier at night if it was done by. I could
Correct.
Try Christine and Susan both. Yes. Okay, great. Okay, next on the agenda, tax refunds. So Brett, you want to do a tax refund motion for the,
Yeah.
you can do these all in one shot?
I'll make a motion. It looks like it's all to the same company, correct?
Yes,
To do a tax refund of $1,137.76 to CCAP Auto Lease.
I second.
thank you, Nicole. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you. Nicole, you seem like you're a little under the weather, so I'll do the minutes tonight. How's that?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen minutes from the meeting on June 14, 2022 at 6:30 as submitted by Ivana Hugo.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen special meeting, which was held on June 17th at 9 a.m. The minutes were submitted by Ivana Hugo,
I'll second.
seconded by Brett. Any discussion?
No discussion, other than that was the meeting that we talked about some shared services. So I'd like to see us continue that on the agendas every now and then, have it as a old business.
Duly noted. Thank you. Okay, all in favor of approving these minutes, say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, as we get down towards the close of the meeting, let's see what we got left. Public comment. Do we have any public comment? So if we have somebody online, is that for public comment?
Yes, actually, I do. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can
Heather
hear you.
Author, 135 Mill Road. So 2 things I just want to say. So number 8 quarterly, I absolutely love it. Being a new resident in town, I absolutely love the quarterly. I know you guys are doing some suggestions, so I would say possibly if there's a way not to have to mail them all, maybe look at them electronically, might cut down on some postage possibly. Just a suggestion. And then also I'm looking at some of the commissions don't have their minutes updated within the time period, or they wait until the following month. Is there a way to get the draft meetings of some commissions up versus waiting to wait for them to be approved at the following meeting?
I am not sure how to answer that. So I guess we could suggest the board chairs and try to get draft minutes up before approval. If we can even do that, I'm not sure if that's proper or not.
I think they should be included under the Freedom of Information Act, because I do see the agendas going up, but I never see the minutes going up until after. Being a recording secretary for another town, that is typically how it's done.
Okay.
So some of the draft minutes get filed with the town clerk's office and are filed in the actual record book, and then don't get posted online until they've been approved. So that might be part of the issue. So they don't have to be posted online until they're approved. They only have to be posted with the town clerk's office.
I think, first of all, I applaud you. Welcome to town. I applaud you for looking at our site and looking into all of that. I don't know how I would feel about having draft minutes, knowing full well, having been on other boards and commissions, when we make amendments to those. I think that could potentially confuse the public if there were mistakes made in those draft minutes and they were not approved until the next meeting and amended. I think I worry about having some misinformation potentially be out there.
I understand the concern. It's just being a citizen, it's kind of hard to go into the town hall when I work in a different town and it's only open 9 to 4 to be able to see those minutes before the next meeting.
Bob,
that would be my concern. And, because if I'm trying to attend an economic development or a conservation meeting, I can't really see what's gone on if I've missed the meeting. I can review it on Zoom, which is absolutely great. But if I'm, trying to manage a home and kids and other things, it's just easier to read it at night. And I can't do that until after the meeting has passed.
So
yep,
I
no,
would
I
think that
understand.
we could talk to our town clerk and see what the process would be and at least look into it for you. And I know that's what brings up, we might be able to also look at the recorded meetings that we have and put them all under the same YouTube page. I know not every commission loads them up, but that might help as well, because those can take the place of minutes as well. Right.
What ones that we don't have access to Board of Ed, they don't have to be posted on our site. So
Correct, but
is there someone else?
I believe EDC sometimes, and we don't post those, they record them. So I just think we can look into it, so
Okay.
we can have the access.
So do you look at the, on the major boards that we do have these Zoom meetings recorded on the website? Do you look at those at all? This isn't it.
So yes, I've looked at some of the Board of Selectmen ones. a few of the commissions are smaller. A few of the ones that I'm interested in are smaller, which is probably why it's harder to find the minutes. But being that I also work with the scouts, it's kind of hard to be in scouts and see a recreation commission meeting. I can hear them through the wall, but not clearly. So I just like to know what's going on in town, and it's kind of hard to do because sometimes those events have already passed too by the time that those minutes are then posted. That's my only suggestion, is trying to, being that I'm not essentially close to the center of town, I'm way out on the side of North Stonington. It's just hard to A, get into the town hall, and then B, sometimes make the meetings when I have other commitments as far as scouts and other things that I do for the kids in town.
If you could, if you wanted to reach out to me, if you wanted to reach out to me and let me know what it is, which boards and commissions you're very interested in, I'd be glad to contact those boards and see if we can get those in quicker for you.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
You can get a hold of me through town hall, you know that, right?
I do. Yep.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you again,
Thanks
Heather.
for joining us tonight. Any other public comment? None? Pat, do you have anything to Pat today? No, okay. Okay. Excuse me, I didn't hear you say that. Okay, so no other further comment this evening? Hearing none, our next meeting is scheduled for July 12th. And I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
We'll adjourn tonight at, looks like 7:27. And Nicole, I hope you feel better.
Thank you very much.
I'll be glad to have you back and get rid of Shakespeare over here for the next meeting.